morning, everybody. This is Ask the Experts, and we have experts from around the country in the home services industry. We have Bill from Valor Services, Ann from Capozzi Design Group, and Rob and I from Signature Home Services. Ann, why don't you start us off and introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Ann from Capozzi Design Group. I'm located in beautiful Chagrin Falls, Ohio, and I'm here in my showroom. We specialize in complete design build, so we can handle anything from a basic renovation through complete addition. So that's what we do here. We also have Benchmark Home Services, which is our sister company, and we handle any small projects through Benchmark Home Services as well. So thank you for having me. I appreciate being here. Looking forward to the conversation today.
Bill.
Good morning, everyone. Bill Wilson with Valor Home Services. I'm located just outside of St. Louis on the southern Illinois part of our state. We have been in business for over 25 years. We specialize in hardwood floor refinishing, flooring, and also handyman projects of smaller nature. And we're here to help folks, whether they have a small interior project or an exterior project that they just can't get completed. And I want to wish everyone a happy Memorial Day, and look forward to the call today.
Yes, and I just want to say thank you to our troops, because Bill served for many years. He's a chief. And Rob was also in the Marines, URA. So yes, thank you to all of our servicemen and women out there who are making our country safe for us and allowing us to celebrate this weekend. So this is Rob Matthews, my husband. You want to tell them about yourself?
Yeah, you kind of just did a little bit. Yes, my name's Rob Matthews with Signature Home Services. I'm the president. And we are a design build remodeling company here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And very much like Ann, we do kitchens and baths, room additions, pretty much anything dealing with a home. We also do duct cleaning, and we all have a handyman division.
And I am Robin Burrell, and I handle the design side of our business. And we also have an interior design services. And that can include anything from helping you rework your space to putting up window treatments, or even if you need help decorating for the holidays, we can do that too. So we are completely a full service, home services company. So we'll start off this morning with one of the questions that we got, and that was, I think all of us can relate to this because we get those questions. We have someone that has nailed down hardwoods in their house, but they're in bad shape, and they wanted to refinish them and then carry them through the rest of the house because they love that look, they said, in the kitchen. So why don't we talk a little bit, Bill, you're kind of our expert here when it comes to flooring. Talk to us a little bit about refinishing, and then I have my own opinions about wood in the kitchen.
Or any wet area.
Right. But, if she's got tile now, and you put down plywood to nail it down and all that, I mean, we're talking pretty intensive. But she, in her question, she also asked that she's been told that that's the only type of real wood. And we as professionals know there's different types of wood. So why don't you kick us off there, and then the rest of us can chime in a little bit too.
Yeah, so, hardwood is one of those things that most people really, they just look at it and really take for granted what goes into it. And there's different types. I think we kind of talked a little bit, engineered hardwood flooring and then solid nailed down hard flooring. Engineered can be put over most substrates, including concrete. So I think where you're at, you may have some concrete floors and so forth. We have a lot of wood substrates or subfloors, but it can be installed, engineered can be installed over any substrate. And the differences between engineered, and this may be a really long question or answer, but the difference is when it comes to the the construction of the products. An engineered product is really great for wet areas, truthfully, when you're looking at wood floors. It is basically layers that have been turned perpendicular to each other in most cases of different products and different types of wood. So it could be poplar in between, it could be pine and things like that. But the upper and lower portions are usually some type of species of wood, whether it be oak or maple or what have you. And what that does dimensionally, and Rob, you could probably talk to how wood and dimensionally sound things are and how movement happens. But basically, by turning those layers between 90 degrees, it allows for better sound, minimal movement, right? So all wood is going to expand and contract as moisture hits it. Whether it's a bathroom or a kitchen, foyer, what have you, is going to expand and contract. We want to make sure that that is minimized, okay? Typically, it moves in the length. So when it does get moisture, it grows more in the length than it does in the width. With solid hardwood floors, it typically grows when it gets wet in the width, not the length, right? So it grows, and that's that curve or wave look. We call it cupping in our industry. And, you can see that as you go across the washboard effect and so forth. And obviously the downside or the opposite of that is when lack of moisture, or when you had moisture present and then lack of, and then it actually goes the opposite way and kind of concaves, like if you would, a mound or a hill. So I guess the answer to this individual person's, you can put hardwood in wet areas. We want to look at their lifestyle, and this kind of goes to you folks here with the design and so forth. But if your lifestyle's, you don't have small children that are going to splash and leave water on the floor and things like that, you can put a solid hardwood floor or even an engineered hardwood floor in a wet space. We don't typically like to do it in laundry rooms and things like that, but we do a lot of kitchens in hardwood. We do some powder bathrooms where we don't have tubs and a potential for standing water. But if a homeowner really wants it and they understand that there are some concerns that we want to address up front, by all means, you can put that engineered or solid in any of those areas.
Let me interrupt you here for just a second, and Ruth Ann can probably chime in with this too. I guess our concern is, I know when you build cabinets, you don't build, say, a large cabinet door out of a solid piece of wood, because it'll twist and, as it, the humidity in the air, like today here in Texas, it's super humid. But that's one of the things, and so that's something that you have to keep in mind, right? I mean, wouldn't you say that that's pretty important? And I think also with cabinets, they're better to be factory finished than finished on site. And with a lot of the nail down floors, they're finished on site, right, Bill?
Yeah, so the biggest challenge today is everyone wants a wider plank. They're going with 6 and 7 inch planks a lot of times, and that in a solid product requires some additional type of installation I won't get into, but it's gluing and nailing now. Those larger products, anything over 3 1/4 inches wide now, they really want it glued and nailed because of the potential for cupping. The engineered hardwood allows you to go with a wider plank and not have as much twisting and warping and susceptibility to humidity.
Talk to us a little bit too about, the finish with the cabinets and.
Absolutely. Yeah. So here in Northeast Ohio, we have a lot of older homes. And so we're dealing with a lot of existing hardwood floor whenever we walk into homes. It's very, very prevalent here. So often what I tell clients, as you said, Rob, and my concern is the finish, right? Because just like with cabinetry, I grew up in a cabinet shop, so I know what that was like back in the day when we would we had a spray booth and cabinets got sprayed. Well, things have changed dramatically in the past 25 years. And with all the changes in finishes and what the EPA is recommending, waterborne finishes and what have you, those finishes that we could get at the cabinet shop locally at our own shop just were not as good as the new technology that's available on factory finished cabinetry. And I tell that my clients, it's the same thing with hardwood floor. So when we go in, if we're refinishing hardwood floor, it's not, you know, I think the time that it's going to last, unlike coming from a factory where you can get an aluminum anodized finish that's going to have a long, just a longer lasting finish on it from a factory, versus if we go in and, you know, we have that floor sanded down and then we refinish the floor. So I'm always I always try to make sure that people understand the difference and really what you're getting, because you aren't going to get the length of, the longevity on the finish just won't be as long at all coming from something that's finished in the home afterwards versus coming from a factory. But many people love that, and as long as they're aware of it and they know it and they understand it, we do a lot of refinishing still here in Northeast Ohio as well. I think it's understanding the difference and what's most important to the homeowner.
If I can interject just a little bit on that, and I would probably maybe hedge that a little bit, not necessarily completely disagree, but keep in mind the aluminum oxide that you're talking about is suspended in the finish itself, right? It's not on top, it's not the top layer. So when people are talking about wear and tear of a finish, they're really talking about scratchability and durability. And that scratch, if it's aluminum oxide, people want darker floors right now, the cappuccinos and the mochas and so forth. And think about a black car, if you do, okay? And a black car gets keyed, right? That metal shines through. The same thing happens on a floor. If that top layer is scratched, and we all know that hardwood does scratch, it's not bulletproof, that metal shines through. So the top layer is super important. So the number of layers above or on top of that aluminum oxide is really the key, because you can get some pre-finished products that really have a very thin layer or not a very good layer of urethane on top. And the type of urethane they use is important as well. So I would say if you're comparing apples to apples, there's definitely good conversation to have around the types of finish, but we do a lot of refinishing, and the finishes we use in gymnasiums, and we put hardener in them and so forth, so you can get some really, really good finishes. And I won't go into that. That's a topic probably on my own show of 5 or 6 different types of finishes you can use. But it's definitely a conversation, because there are some pre-finished products that do not give you the same level of finish as a site finish would, again, depending on what they're doing. So I'd love to come to Cleveland and do some work there for you guys and show you what a site finished floor looks like.
So I'd like to take it in 2 different directions too. I think, Ann, I'll come back to you in just a second, but Rob, I want to talk to you because unlike, you know, where Ann and Bill are, you know, where they have a lot of pier and beam houses that will have the wood substrate like Bill was talking about earlier, here we have mainly slab foundations. So
no basements.
Right, right. So for us, if you have nailed down hardwoods in everywhere, let's say except for the family room and the kitchen and the laundry room, and now you want to bring that all in, what are some considerations that people should consider? Because what happens to that height with the cabinets and the baseboards and the doors and the appliances? And
we've met with people before, and they wanted just to bring hardwood floors into the kitchen where they had tile presently, and they didn't realize what all they were going to have to do, because tile, let's say it's 3/8 of an inch thick, and now we're going to go in with how thick plywood do you guys normally do, Bill? 5/8, 3/4?
Minimum 3/4.
Okay, so 3/4, and then the hardwood floor is going to be 3/4 or so. You're raising that entire floor 1.5 inches. Well, the cabinets are sitting on the slab, so you are going to decrease your toe kick. You are not going to be able to get your dishwasher out if you ever had to replace it, And in fact, we just did this. We just finished a kitchen last week where we did exactly this, but it was a full remodel. But all the perimeter doors, the exterior doors, we had to take them out and raise them up 1.5 inches. But we also planned on the thickness of the floor of the cabinets. So we built the cabinets up at 3/4 of an inch, or actually it was right about an inch. Once the wood floors were in, you maintain that 4-inch toe kick at the bottom, and you can get, say, the dishwasher out.
But then you also had to rework the baseboards, correct?
Have all the baseboards, because some people, you'll see the baseboards are going along on a hardwood floor, and all of a sudden it'll turn and go down, 1 inch or so, then continue on for that level change. If someone is doing, saying, a kitchen facelift and say they're going to want the wood floors and they're going to do new countertops and maybe new backsplash, well, you can kind of do the opposite. You can add some pieces to the top of the cabinets, and then that would raise the countertops up. So that would take care of the dishwasher issue, but it still won't take care of the toe kick. So there's some challenges there that people may not think about. So, but if they're going to go with a engineered 3/8 inch wood glue down, or even a 1/2 inch engineered glue down, you're going to be okay with that.
Now, Ann, talk to us a little bit about your thoughts of bringing a wood floor in with stained wood cabinets.
With stained wood cabinets?
Yeah, because that's kind of like,
yes.
It's really hard, isn't it?
It's extremely difficult, because if you have wood that starts to compete with what you have on the walls, and it's not an exact match, right? And even like we've talked about before, the wood on the floor and the grade that they use is different than what we're using in cabinetry, right? So I think, and then there's a lot of busyness that goes on whenever you have pattern grain going on the floor and on the cabinetry. So I would tell you, we really very, very rarely do that here in Northeast Ohio. We find that we're doing typically painted cabinets if we're doing a wood floor, which looks really classic. To do that white or that off-white with a beautiful wood floor looks stunning and lovely. And if they really like the look of the cabinetry in a wood, then we're really looking at a tile. So we don't have this kind of the same woodsy look going on throughout the space. It just starts to overwhelm.
Yeah, I've seen some kitchens before where it looks like when they built a house, they used the same exact stain on the floors and the cabinets, and it looks like the cabinets just kind of melted right into the floors,
Yeah.
and you don't have any contrast whatsoever. It just makes it look really dark.
But then, Anne, haven't you seen too when they've done something like that, and then the floor and the cabinets will age differently?
Differently, yes, because it just what we talked about, they age differently. They don't look exactly the same. And it's not really appealing. And even I think from the beginning, again, we've talked about wood and the different grades with flooring versus with cabinetry. And yeah, they don't age the same. It's just not overall. Again, I think too, people are looking for a cleaner look. You don't have to want a modern or contemporary kitchen to just want something that's kind of quiet, beautiful, simple. And I think that's best achieved by using wood in one of the two elements, but not both.
Yeah, Anne, talk to us a little bit. Are you all in your area using a lot of the different finishes on wood floors, from the matte to
Sure.
the different sizes?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. Most of what we're doing, if we're refinishing, we're doing a lot of the matte finish, just like we're seeing the move in cabinetry to a matte finish. And again, that very natural, quiet, or more organic feel on the floor. We're seeing that's what we're seeing when it comes to flooring. We are using the wider plank. We are seeing some great lengths. Sometimes we're doing even a mix of different widths of wood. If it's, a more traditional home and we want to have something a little more interesting there, we're using that. If they want it a little more cleaned up than we are going with the wider planks on the wood floor.
Yeah, personally, I love that very natural. I almost hate to say this because I'm not a big farmhouse fan, but I like the natural finish on the floors that almost, I guess they have a brush finish. And Bill, would it be, would they use a wax or an oil or something like that? They don't use poly to give it that finish, correct?
Yeah, there's actually a couple of options. You can do what's called a hard wax, and then you can also do what's called a penetrating oil. Either one of those are going to give you a different look. It's more of a matte finish, obviously, but it's more of a natural look. But it also makes repairs a lot easier and touch-ups and things like that because you don't have to worry about with the poly and so forth.
Kind of like a stained cabinet, right? Right, and you can touch up a stained cabinet, whereas the painted cabinet, forget it.
So yeah, so much better. You know, Bill, I would love to know your thoughts when it comes to these different finishes. What's the difference whenever you're installing the floor? Is there a difference when it comes to, you know, how many coats get put on, and then how do they last as long as a poly? Could you speak to that a little bit? Because I think that would be terrific for everybody to hear a little bit more about.
Yeah, and I mean, I hate to keep saying, but it really depends on the situation. It really does. Everyone's home is a little different, how they maintain it, what type of lifestyle they have, and so forth. But, you know, we like oil finishes for older floors. So if we're going to go into an historic home or a home built in the 1900s, early 1900s or 1800s, we really like oil. Oil gives a lot of depth. It gives a lot of realistic penetration and gives you that depth that, like I said, that really makes a lot of sense. It doesn't look plasticky. The water-based finishes are thinner. They require more coats. So when you're talking about the number of coats and so forth, with oil, you typically do a penetrating stain. That actually is your sealer. You could walk away from the floor at that point. Most folks don't realize that, but that actually seals the floor and you could walk away from it. And that's really what a penetrating oil does. But if you use a penetrating stain and then you apply a sealer, and some folks call that a coat of finish, but then after the sealer, then you put on either one or two or three coats of finish. And that's with water-based. Then there's acid cure, which is a little more volatile with a smell and so forth, but a very durable finish. And then the oils and so forth. Typically, when people want durability, and that's, you know, the concern with hardwood floors when they have an active lifestyle, they have young kids and children around, dogs and so forth, they're concerned about scratchability and durability. So I usually talk that differently, and that's a separate thing. I usually like Bona product. It's called Traffic with a hardener, so it's Traffic HD. We found that is the best performing finish that we've ever used as far as durability. Quickly getting folks back in the house, quick drying, quick cure times, like we've talked about with HD. It's 72 hours and you're about 95 to 98% totally cure after 72 hours, which is super important for you guys when you're doing kitchen cabinets and things like that. You know, it's not as delicate of a finish. Oil tends to be more fluid and have a more elasticity. And it's a little bit softer, so you have to be a little bit careful. And it takes I tell folks about 2 weeks, 28 days to fully cure. So there are some limitations, but to answer your question, the number of coats really depends on the application that you're doing, but typically 2 to 3 coats for oil and 2 to 3 coats for water, but you have a sealer step in the middle of that.
Excellent. Thanks, Bill.
And what are your choices? I guess what would be your preference, Anne, on a floor?
So here, sorry about that. So here in Northeast Ohio, when it comes to any type of flooring?
Well, let's just talk wood floor. Let's talk what people do and what you like.
Okay, so we're doing more engineered floor than we are installing new hardwood. And I think a big part of it, again, people come to us and they want something more contemporary, then we're able to offer them some beautiful engineered products in some great gray finishes. and nice wide planks, and I think it gives them some beautiful options. However, if we're working, there's some older areas in Cleveland, Cleveland Heights, Shaker Heights. There are homes with existing hardwood floors where we are still having to, take some of that out and match it in, knowing that it's not going to be, again, an exact match. You have flooring that's 50 or 75 years old, and you're blending that in with new flooring. We don't do that as much, but that certainly is, still something that we do here. I hope that answers your question. So for me, it really just depends on the application and what's most fitting for the home. Because we are dealing with older homes, we really do our best to respect the architecture of the home and look at what options would work best with that.
Yeah.
Guys, if I could maybe interject just something real quick, Robin, I apologize for interrupting, but one of the things that homeowners probably, when they're looking at doing these projects, right, that involve hardwood floors and cabinets and they have existing floors and so forth, one of the key things that's important for us is the thickness and the type of floor that they have. So pictures are great. So if you can pull a register, I know in our area, and yours, Ann, as well, you normally pull a floor register and you can measure that thickness. In the older homes around the Depressions and even the 1900s, the thicknesses of wood, even though it's solid, is not 3/4. So we run across, and I just did this yesterday with a client that had depression wood. It's what we call depression, and it's 1/2 by 2, not 2 1/4 inches wide, but 2 inches wide. So knowing that changes the dynamics and changes what you how you procure the product and heights and so forth. So you can go in and need to interlace, as Ann was talking about. But if you have the wrong thickness, or you're off 1/4 of an inch, it's not going to work. We talked about tile last week, I think, the thicknesses and being off. So I would always say start with that, knowing the specifics of your hardwood floors when you do that interlacing.
And here in Texas, we still do a lot of the hand scraped floors. They're not as distressed as what they used to be. Mm-hmm. And I think a distressed floor also, because it's very similar to that brush look, it gives you a lot of room for
very forgiving.
Yes. Pets, kids, husbands.
That's really interesting. We don't really do much when it comes to distressed, not natural, floors. We are seeing that in other products. So that's really, really interesting for me to hear. How about you, Bill? Do you do much in your area with distressed floors?
Not as much anymore. It was a period of time where we did. I think folks liked it. Right now, we're more traditional and wider planks and then color. I mean, when folks are really looking at the floor, they're looking at, I want a wider floor, not a narrow floor, and then I want a specific color. And really, that's how that conversation starts for us, but not so much distressed anymore.
Yeah, I think
it's a lot more expensive too, because you're literally hand scraping it, and then they'll take chains and go around and hit it with chains and hammers and just really kind of beat them up. But it's great for, like you said, with kids and pets.
And if when they forget to put the pads under the furniture and they drag the furniture completely room. Yes. So. Well, this has been an awesome discussion this morning. Anything you guys want to add before we close out? No? All right. Well, Bill, why don't you lead us out? Tell everybody how we can get in touch with you and if they have any more questions about flooring or handyman.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're in the Midwest, obviously you can call us, and our phone number is listed on our website, which is valorhomeservices.com. It's the best way to reach us. We are on Facebook, some other social medias and so forth. But the easiest way, start off with the website, valorhomeservices.com. And, we are always ready to serve. That's our tagline. So if you have any questions, no matter what time of day it is, give us a call, give us a shout. We're glad to help you. You guys have a great Memorial weekend.
Thank you, Chief. All righty. Ann.
Yeah, so we can be, the easiest way to reach us is you can reach out through our website, CapozziDesignGroup.com. We are available on all the social channels, so you certainly can find us there as well. and we will be available and happy to answer any questions that anyone may have. And I would like to also say thank you to all those who have served, including my father and father-in-law. And I hope everyone remembers what this weekend is about and can enjoy some time with their family.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Rob, do you want to tell them how they can reach us?
Sure. You can reach us at signaturehomeservices.com. Like everybody else, we're on all the social medias. And our phone number here in Dallas-Fort Worth area is 817-753-6668. Reach out to us and we'll help you with anything you need that deals with a residential home.
Mm-hmm. And again, thank you very much to all of our servicemen and women for making this wonderful weekend, enjoyable for us and keeping our freedom. And we appreciate your service. And everyone have a great Memorial Day weekend. And we will see you next Saturday.